My kind of nonsense, your kind of charm, our kind of fumbling around in the dark. I'm kind of wondering.
This video is read by Drew and written by Taylor Edwards. So Nanlite reached out again and asked me to have a look at their brand new Forza 300B, a powerful bicolor cob light. So after it being lost in the mail, my city going back into lockdown, and me finding out that One Division was a much better show than I thought it would be, here we are.
This is gonna be a gas!
This video is going to be broken down into two sections. A lighting tutorial of a test shoot with the 300B, and then the pros and cons of what I think of it. If you want to skip to my review, you can go to this timecode. A special thanks to my model and behind the scenes videographer. So let's break down the lighting. First thing to know is that this isn't a real house. It's a set that we repurposed for this shoot. This gave us much more flexibility with controlling our own lights, as we didn't have to try to combat with the sun. I tend to hate shooting against white walls, and trying to find any coloured walls in houses in Australia is very difficult, so the set being yellow worked out nicely. For this setup, we used a Forza 500, the Forza 300B, the Forza 60 projection mount, a haze machine, some unbleached muslin, and some negative fill. So let's talk about how we lit the opening shot, as that is the basis for the rest of the lighting in the scene. I'm generally a big fan of short lighting my subjects. This is when the subject is lit from the side of the face furthest from the camera. This technique is used all over movies, television, and commercials. It's an easy way to create a flattering image and also create some visual depth, as shadows fall towards the camera. For my key light, I set up my Forza 500 with a light orange Rosco gel at full power, blasting it through a 6x6 piece of unbleached muslin at about 45 degrees to the far side of my actor. The reason we use the piece of unbleached muslin as diffusion rather than something like a softbox is multifaceted. Firstly, I like the warmer tones that unbleached muslin gives compared to regular diffusion. Also, because we are shooting at a wider angle. This means I can't get the light fixtures all that close to the actor without it being in the shot. And creating nice soft light is all about the relationship between the size of your light source compared to the distance the light source is from the subject. The further you are away from the subject, the bigger your source of light will have to be to maintain the same level of softness. The output is also affected here. The further you are away from the subject, the more output you need to maintain exposure. So when I'm shooting the Forza 500 through the muslin, that diffusion becomes our new source of light, turning our beam from something like this into this. If you would like a more detailed video about this relationship, let me know in the comments. The next thing I did was set up the backlight through the window. This was the 300B with a Fresnel attachment set to a colour temperature of 3700. We also added some plants in the way of the light to help give the light a more realistic broken up look. The next thing I did was add some neg material between the muslin and the actor. This was mainly to cut the light from reaching the closer side of the actor's face, but also to add shadows. Then we added some haze to help give a bit more texture to the light in the room and soften the light coming in from the back window. And that's basically the look we carried across to the other shots, adding and removing neg when it made sense to do so. The one exception is for the strip of light shots. For that, we used the Nanlite projection mount. I cut the beam into the shape we wanted and dialed down the intensity until it felt fairly natural. I recommend you check out my review of this for more detail on how it works. This is a super simple setup, but simple can go a long way when you have the right location. It's as important to think about lighting the location you're in as it is your subject, thinking about how you want your shadows to fall rather than just how to fill them. Let's move on to my thoughts on the 300B. I really like this light, which wasn't a surprise because generally I love my 300 watt cob lights. They have proven to be perfect for most situations where I need a key light indoors. And making it bicolor is a huge bonus for flexibility, as being able to match different lighting temperatures on the fly is a huge time saver. The all-metal build feels high quality and strong. I also really like the new yellow accent they have added for the bicolor series. Also, the 300B now comes with a remote that gives you full functionality. It's worth mentioning, as of the release of this video, the Nanlite app isn't out yet, but I have been told that this light will be fully compatible when it does. The fan is still louder than I would like it to be, although it is a consistent speed, which makes it easier to remove any noise from it in post-production if needed. It may not be so obvious, but bicolor lights don't have the same output as individual chip lights. The Forza 300B has about 35% less output than the standard Forza 300 mono light. That being said, Nanlites seem to have the best Bowens design on the market. With the chip sitting directly at the bottom of the reflector dish, it favours efficiency over compatibility. I say this as I have found that Nanlite cobs have less fall off over longer distances. But as mentioned, compatibility is sacrificed as a result. Not all Bowens accessories will fit on this light, so I recommend going for Nanlite Bowens accessories first when possible. The optional extension control cable is a requirement in my eyes, and they should have just included it to begin with. And I'm still not a fan of the mounting system for the control box. If you haven't seen my Forza 500 review, my clamp broke whilst tightening after only a few uses. I should mention that since then, Nanlite have told me that even though the design has not changed, they have started to use a stronger material in the construction of it, so hopefully that will minimise the issue. Also, I personally haven't used V-Locks on this light, but something I have noticed is that you would have to take the control box off of the light stand to swap out the batteries as they are rear loaded, and that seems like an unnecessary annoyance. Also, the colour temperature dial is not accurate to the actual colour temperature being given off to various levels across the spectrum. I would advise using a light spectrometer if you need to dial in exact temperatures. But this is not a huge deal for me as I tend to play it more by eye and feel than getting exact numbers. Plus, Nanlite can certainly fix this with a firmware update. Speaking of which, this light has a USB input so you can update its firmware. This is a new and welcome addition. These days, I'm not sure I'd be able to recommend any bicolor or RGB lighting systems that doesn't give you the ability to install new firmware. Okay, let's wrap this up. This may just become my go-to key light for most indoor interview situations. The output is very good, and being bicolor makes it more useful than my other cob lights. If you are grabbing your first cob light or looking to add one to your kit, then I would definitely recommend this to you. Below I have linked to where you can buy the 300B in Australia and the US. If you haven't already, go check out my other Nanlite gear reviews. I'll catch you next time.
Life is good, but it can be better.
It's real simple.
Check out the film on YouTube.
He's totally wicked!
Without a doubt.
Really?
Awesome!
I want to subscribe.
Do it now! I'm talking to you!
I'm here to save you
From
horrible channels
All over!
On the internet, you kids are gonna love it.